Nations against nations, insurrections, earthquakes, viruses, wars, rumors of wars. Sounds dark, yet too familiar, doesn't it? When we hear texts like the gospel reading for today, warnings of what is to come, we may find ourselves too close to that chaos. Or maybe we find ourselves in that chaos. Whether in our personal lives, in our community, or in this world, we may fear the end of some things, of all things. This story is known as Mark's little apocalypse, although I'm not sure it's so little. When I hear little apocalypse, I think of my daughter in a bad mood. I think of deciding what's for dinner. I think of rush hour traffic, but no, this is big. This is Jesus warning his disciples of what is to come. So yes, this is little compared to the book of Revelation, yes, but a prophecy of the future nonetheless. An unveiling of what is to come. Jesus said, destruction is inevitable, but do not be alarmed. I know, much easier said than done. Last week we celebrated All Saints. We named those who have died in this past year, the saints whose legacy continues, yet their time on this earth has ended. And now, as the church, we are 2 weeks, yes, just 2 weeks from the season of Advent, a season of waiting. So in these weeks of waiting to wait again in Advent, we talk about the destruction of the temple and of war. Yikes. Here, Jesus is at the end of his ministry. He's leaving the temple for the last time. His death is drawing near. Jesus has fed the 4,000, healed a blind man, shared stories, taught lifelong lessons, and is now entering into his final and longest discourse, his final teaching to the disciples. This teaching is also found in the Gospels of Matthew and Luke. It is important, but it's especially important for the audience of Mark, a people in upheaval. Their temple, a temple that took 80 years to build, destroyed. We complain about a few years of downtown construction, but this is 80 years this took to build. And more than that, this is the place they felt closest to God. Destroyed, they no longer know who or what to trust. And moving back to this text, Jesus and his disciples leaving the temple, there's one disciple who comments on the beauty of it. I think of that disciple as the one who would take thousands of photos on vacation, or the one in a museum who would read every little detail. And that excited disciple exclaims, "What large stones! What a great building!" Imagine the disciples here in this space at St. Paul's. They come in through those brass doors, and that one disciple says, "What large marble stones! What a large building!" And then Jesus looks around and says, "Oh, these stones, all torn down." That poor disciple thinking, "What? Are you kidding me? We just spent 80 years building this thing. I'm not doing another stewardship campaign." This is the heart of our community. This is the heart of our people. And then after that bad news, they hike up the Mount of Olives, a place thought to be physically closer to God. Jesus sits down in his teaching position and spends time with just 4 of those disciples. Imagine Peter, James, John, and Andrew sitting in a circle with Jesus. They want to be in the know, just like any good ministry leader would. They ask, so when will this destruction happen? Can you give us a little hint? And I mean, as a planner, I get it. Like, Jesus, give me a timeline. But Jesus responds with teachings, warnings. Keep watch. Stay awake. Do not be alarmed. Jesus says in this text, beware that no one leads you astray. When you hear of wars and rumors of wars, do not be alarmed. Nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be earthquakes. There will be famines. When I hear rumors of war, I think of the sculpture by Kehinde Wiley, the magnificent bronze piece outside the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts. It is right here in Richmond. Wiley is an American artist well known for his paintings and has a series of rumors of war, but he's also known for his portrait of President Barack Obama. Wiley, talking about this piece, says, quote, in these toxic times, art can transform us. It can give us a sense of purpose. This story begins with my seeing the Confederate monuments. What does it feel like if you are Black and walking beneath these? We come from a beautiful, fractured situation. Let's take these fractured pieces and put them back together. The Rumors of War sculpture was completed in 2019, a young man sitting atop a bronze horse, wearing Nike high tops and ripped jeans. The sculpture resembles the monument of Jeb Stuart, a Confederate general, but this sculpture commemorates the Black youth lost to the social and political battles being waged throughout our nation. This sculpture tells a more complete story of our country. The name of the sculpture is accredited to the Gospel of Matthew chapter 24, the same story as the story from today, our gospel reading in Mark. And Wiley says, quote, in the changed times, there are going to be wars and rumors of war, because human nature is to have war. It is to have strife. The nature of human beings is to have this type of strife. There is nothing new to that. Rumors of war is a response to this chaotic time, and it unveils something that was once hidden. Wiley sees this world as it is and shares a more complete story of it and shows us something we cannot unknow. We cannot unsee. He reminds us that war and strife will happen. And these monuments are large. You can't see the full story until you slow down and see the details. Whoever you happen to be, you should be able to see yourself in this place we call America. In the gospel for today, we are reminded to stay awake. There will be wars, rumors of wars. Humans will be selfish. We will mess up, but do not be afraid. Our reading for today ends as Jesus says, quote, this is but the beginning of the birth pangs. And I know of birth pangs, the painful labor that comes before the birth of a child. Our daughter Annie was born 7 months ago after 34 hours of labor. I hope that's not the only thing you remember from my sermon today. But I like the translation of this last verse a little better. But these things are nothing compared to what's to come. I'm going to read that again, but these things are nothing compared to what's to come. Jesus gets critiqued for this passage all the time. I know, shocking, Jesus getting critiqued for something, but was Jesus wrong? He was telling us the end is near, but here we are, a few thousand years later. Many wars, insurrections, and viruses later. Many read this as the beginning of the end, and they try to predict the end time down to the date. But I read it as new life can be born of chaos, a new dawn, the continued life cycle of humans. Necessary change will come. Inevitable change will come. So we are called to move past these large buildings, these large stones, and our tendency to plan, and to not lose hope, for God is with us. God is ushering in something new, even though there are these wars and rumors of wars, charismatic leaders, and viruses. These things will happen, but they are not the end. There are deaths and births. There is change all around us. We are called to pay attention to those details, and to hold one another up in our chaos, in this grief. To have faith even though we may joke or we may truly feel like the world is ending. There's a beautiful hymn based on the Magnificat, so Mary's song, titled "The Canticle of the Turning." And the chorus sings, well, I will spare you and just say it, my heart shall sing of the day you bring. Let the fires of your justice burn. Wipe away all tears, for the dawn draws near, and the world is about to turn. The world is about to turn, it is about to change, or maybe it is already changing, and that's scary. But are we paying attention? In times of chaos, change can be really exciting. So in this gospel reading, Jesus tells Peter, James, John, and Andrew, and Jesus tells us, stay awake. Keep watch, do not be alarmed, even in these chaotic times. Climate change, insurrection, gun violence, even amongst children in our city, war, rumors of war, these are but the birth pangs. Uncover what is hidden, pay attention, and have hope. And look for that change. For the world is about to turn. Amen.